Good evening, everyone. The hour is 5:30. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Danville City Commission this evening, Monday, September the 9th. I'll call us to order, and I will ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Kevin Cottle. Kevin?
Thank you. Father of all, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here in freedom to discuss the issues of our city. Help us to remember we're all neighbors. Be with those who have suffered recent tragedies through natural disasters or through any sort of terrorism. Be with all those who protect us. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Mayor, before we go to the pledge, the 11th is right around the corner. I think we ought to just ask the audience to take a moment of silence that we at least we not forget.
Could we have a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11?
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, sir.
Now, a little fun time. Been a long time since he's been in this room, and I want him to come right back on up here. Mayor John W.D. Bowling, I want you to come right up here and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, we're going to let you spectate up here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad to have you. Anything you'd like to say?
I just come to support my wife in the Sister Cities program. That's why I'm here.
Well said. You get supper tonight. Mayor, thanks for being a good sport.
Thank you for calling them out.
Commissioner, I assume you approve of the agenda. I've not heard otherwise, so I'll move right in to hear the public. This is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at our podium to address any item that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be a similar opportunity later on for any topic that is not on tonight's agenda. Do I have any takers? Seeing not, we'll move right on to item 1. That is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that meeting being Monday, August the 26th. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Have a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Sears. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is the banner request. This is for the CASA Superhero 5K. Mr. Scott, again, I'm going to assume that their banner conforms with all of our regulations.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
Move for approval.
Motion is made by Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Discussion?
You have a representative here from that wants to speak? Okay.
Come on, give us a little plug.
Thank you for this opportunity. CASA of the Bluegrass is going to be offering the Superhero 5K, first time ever in Danville. I know Lexington just had theirs this weekend, so CASA of the Bluegrass covers Boyle, Mercer, Franklin, and Anderson counties, and the race is going to be held at Museum Park on Saturday, October the 12th, and it includes a kids' fun run and then a 5K for all the adults. So, and this is just our request to be able to hang a banner out in front of the City Hall. Information if anybody wants a handout. So.
We had a motion and a second, and did we vote?
We
We did. So,
did?
good deal. Thank you. Item 3 is the Sister Cities Award presentation. Dr. Regal.
And the two Marys, Mary Jo and Mary Beth.
So
Sister
he's the
Cities
thorn
has
in it, right?
500 chapters in this country and about 2,500 abroad, and they give one award each year to the city under 25,000. And we applied and forgot about it. And we had a call, we had won. And so these two ladies, I want one on one side and one on the other.
Uh-oh,
By the way,
uh-oh.
you don't need to do anything. These are movers and shakers. I got there, and they had already organized everything and connected and had people, and we were treated like we were Chicago or Paris. George W. Bush gave the keynote. We were really treated well. I mean, y'all were the stars. Yeah, I said, I'm with them. Anyway, the award was based on a number of arts things in Sister Cities, including the West Heath Hill, Thing in the Summer, the Pioneer Playhouse, but mostly the diversity novel, mural, not a novel, I've been thinking of it, mural.
A 5-letter
that
word.
they thought was innovative for arts and culture. Their book, they publish one book a year, and they have, I don't know, maybe 12 pictures from around the country. And the first picture they have, on page 7, is of Brandon Long, our exchange artist to Herr Fergus at a school for handicapped children. And then go a little farther on page 70, they've got a picture of the diversity mural with Habitat folks and others who created it. So we want to give to the city the award that says good things about us. Arts Culture Award presented Danville Sister Cities, Commission Artist Exchange. That was kind of key. So we want to thank all of y'all for your support as a city and individually. And I want to thank these two ladies who I've learned a lot from about how you move and shake and with 2,000 people. I tell you, it was stunning. So thank you, ladies, and thank you.
Thank you. You want to give that to Mr. Scott since he has been to Ireland?
He's not allowed back, but he did go.
Tomorrow, I thought by Skype, we're planning a pretty big student exchange for next summer. Y'all will hear about it later. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I need to share with the commission and public at large that this committee, you talk about passion, you talk about effectiveness. This committee embodies those two characteristics, and it's obvious because of the award you've been given. It's a tremendous acknowledgement of your all's efforts. It's also a nice acknowledgement to the city of Danville. So very much appreciate that. And is there an upcoming trip?
We don't know, but I should say that it was established in 1989 by then Mayor John Bowling.
Mayor Bowling, anything else you want to say? Thank you all again. This is wonderful, and I hope it gets the attention of everybody in the community. Item 4 is a proclamation for the National Senior Center Month, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Terry if she will do us the honor. Ben, are you here for that? You may want to take that down or read it from there, whatever you want to do.
I'm going to read it, and then I'll take it to him. How about that?
Okay.
Whereas the month of September is designated as National Senior Center Month, and older Americans are significant members of our society, investing their wisdom and experience to help enrich and better the lives of younger generations. And whereas the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizens Center has acted as a catalyst for mobilizing the creativity, energy, vitality, and commitment of the older residents of Danville, Kentucky. And whereas through a wide array of services, programs, and activities, the Danville-Boyle County Senior Center empowers older adults to contribute to their own health and well-being and the well-being of their fellow citizens of all ages. And whereas the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizen Center in the city of Danville, Kentucky affirms the dignity, self-worth, and independence of older persons by facilitating their decisions and actions, tapping their experiences, skills, and knowledge, and enabling their continued contributions to the community. And whereas the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizen Center provides opportunities for seniors to stay active and healthy, continue learning, share experiences, and stay connected with friends and community members. And whereas the mission of the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizen Center is to provide senior adults and adults with special needs a range of services, activities, and opportunities to promote growth, health, friendship, and independence in a safe, fun family atmosphere. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Mayor G. Michael Parris and the City Commission of the City of Danville proudly proclaim September as National Senior Center Month in the City of Danville, and in an effort to acknowledge the importance of the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizen Center, call upon all citizens to recognize the special contributions of the Senior Center participants and the special efforts of the staff and volunteers who work every day to enhance the well-being of the older adults of our community on this 9th day of September 2019.
Do I hear a motion for that proclamation?
Move we accept the proclamation into the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Commissioner Atkins, discussion. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
You want to tell those in attendance why you selected Commissioner Terry to read that?
Because you wouldn't.
He's up next.
Yeah.
Moving right along to item 5 is an update from the Danville-Boyle County Senior Citizens. Mr. Grant, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all. I'm going to pass these down to you all. There's a few extra. There's 2 brochures here, one for our senior services and one for our adult health care services. As Commissioner Terry mentioned in the proclamation, our primary function is to provide a range of services to senior citizens and special needs adults in the Danville-Boyle County area in order to help them maintain their independence. As such, we have been charged with the task of providing those services, and we are very excited to be able to share some of the successes that we've had over the last year. If you look at the services that we provided in the 2 years prior to the Title III award, which is the federal grant that supplies us with the ability to administer the Home Delivered Meal Program, additional congregate programming, and Title III-D services for overall health and wellness and prevention activities. We've experienced some tremendous growth. In the 2 years prior to that, we served 3,614 meals. Hello. There, now it's on. The number of meals that we served on average for those 2 years was 3,614, and we provided the community, the senior community, with 5,576 rides as well. That's one of the services that we provide that not a whole lot of people are keenly aware of. When our senior population gets to the point where they're no longer able to drive, that does not negate the fact that they still need transportation to and from the grocery store, pharmacy, physician appointments, the things, the activities of daily living that we all take for granted. So keeping in mind that 2-year average, since we have been awarded that grant, our numbers have exploded. Last year, in the fiscal year beginning July of 2018 through the end of June 2019, we delivered 11,957 meals to senior citizens that are homebound. We provided 4,687 meals on site to senior citizens. We provided 9,309 rides to senior citizens in this community. That's an average of 775 rides per month. Now, keep in mind, that's also only operating 5 days a week from about 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We amassed nearly 1,000 hours of volunteer time to help us offset some of the cost of administering our program. So, as you can see, the numbers have jumped quite a bit. When you're talking about a total number of meals going from 3,614 just 2 years ago to a combined total, including our adult day health care program, of 24,816. Those numbers speak for themselves. If you were to look at the number of individuals that we serve as an unduplicated number, we've reached, and this number, I'm going to preface this by saying this number is a little bit shy because we're unable to capture everybody that comes through our door. Sometimes we have square dancers, for example, that come in there with other groups and they don't sign in. So just the number of unduplicated individuals that we are able to capture, that number is 236. If you look at that as a duplicated number, that's 3,410 on average. The number of hours of activity that we provided to the seniors is 25,341 and a half hours. That's 25,341 and a half hours where our senior citizens were able to engage with one another, participate in exercise activities, social activities, take field trips, enjoy the company of one another, engage in health fairs, and a variety of other activities. In addition to that, we also have our adult day health care program where we operate 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the purpose of that program is to provide services to special needs adults ages 21 and up in this county. As that program continues to succeed, we're seeing greater numbers there as well. With our adult day health care program, in the fiscal year of 2018 to 2019, we averaged, the number of meals that we totaled there was 8,172. That's just the meals. That doesn't include the assistance from our staff. We have a licensed practical nurse on staff as well to help administer medication, glucose monitoring, blood pressure monitoring. A variety of activities also in our adult day health care program are available too to keep the folks engaged. They can sit at home and watch TV if they want. We try to keep them active and engaged and encouraged. One of the things that we've done recently as well to help facilitate that is we sacrificed our boardroom and turned it into a craft room. We figured that meeting once a month for an hour and a half or 2 hours in a giant room with a huge table and a bunch of chairs wasn't the best use of that space. So we 86'd it, and we decided we'd do something different and something productive with that space. I could talk for hours about the sort of things that we
No,
do
you
and the
can't.
impact that we have, but I think Mr. Paris will yank my chain if I do that. But that's a brief snapshot of some of the numbers that we have, and I would be happy to entertain any questions or anything that you all may choose to inquire.
Questions for Mr. Grant?
I just wanted to say thank you, Ben, for
Sure.
everything that you do, and we've had a lot of conversations about what you guys are doing and how you have really done more with less. And
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Anything else?
Were you all expecting this kind of explosion? I guess you knew that it would probably increase, your numbers would increase, but did you expect the kind of increase that you saw?
To a certain extent, Kentucky has a very large grain population, and if you look at our numbers as they compare to the average in the county, if you look at the ages of 45 and up in Boyle County, it's 43.6% of our population. So,
That's a pretty
and we serve
low,
primarily folks over the age of
45?
60.
Is that when we start getting old? 'Cause I've been old a long
Everyone
time
but
now.
you, Commissioner Cobb. Everyone but you. But almost half of our population is the age of 45 and over. If you look at 65 and over, it's nearly 20%. So it's a large part of the population, and as economic needs continue to strap folks and as the population continues to age and the number of population continues to increase, it's the anticipation is that the increase in population is going to be greater than the available resources to meet the need, which is what Commissioner Terry alluded to about trying to do more with less. And we've tried to do that through partnerships with other organizations and streamlining some of our operations, cutting back on some administrative staff in favor of worker bees to help us administer the home delivered meal program and our ride program. So we've just taken a real hard look at how we operate and just try to maximize our efficiency in order to be the best stewards of the public dollar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do.
Anything else? Ben, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
45, you getting there, right?
I'm still under that 45 and over.
Terry's getting there, yeah.
Moving right along. Item 6 is the codes enforcement report. Hi, Bridget.
Hello, good evening. As you can see from the report for the month of August, we've been very, very busy. The notice of violations, inspections as such as 161. Those are just paper things that we've done, though. As you can see from the call log, there's a whole lot of stuff that's not necessarily documented in pieces of paper back there. So a lot of inspections, a lot of checking on things and stuff as far as that goes. We issued 39 business licenses. We placed 22 liens and recovered 3. We issued 72 parking citations. And as you can see from the condemned properties report, 315 Boffman, we are in the process of getting quotes for demolition. We're working with the city manager on that. And there's a picture in there of 315 Boffman in the packet where it had burned some and it's not doing very well. And then also on the condemned properties, we put a picture in there, but we're also really excited to see the work that's happening at 222 West Main Street. So we'll keep you comprised on that, but so far so good. They're doing a really good job over there, and they did a really good job on 311 West Main Street. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Hey, Bridget, I have a question. I keep thinking I'm seeing more and more food trucks. Are we able to get them licensed properly?
They have business license, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we see them, someone new, then we make sure that they have gotten that if they haven't already been to our office.
And what kind of health inspection are they required?
That goes through the health department, but they are required to go through their permitting process as well, and they're limited in where they can be. They have to, you know, like if they're on this corner, they can't be back there after a certain period of time. I forget the time limit, but
So they have to rotate around?
They have to rotate
Okay.
around.
Okay.
Mhm. That's through the health department regulations.
That's all I have. Anybody else have anything for Bridget?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 7 is the city manager report. Mr. Scott?
Yes, sir. My report covers about a dozen items, tonight in some detail. First of all, I want to report that the city manager recruitment process has started in a significant way with our firm, Slavin Randy Frank Associates, completing the recruitment brochure and the job announcement. That's posted on the city's website, and immediately following Labor Day, that was distributed to national, state, and a variety of minority professional management associations around the country. The first round of resumes are scheduled to be reviewed by the firm on September the 25th. The process is open until the position is filled. That's the first review date. That firm committed to you that they would complete the process with viable candidates approximately 90 days from the inception of the work. So that would put it late November, early December as being that timeline. So we're underway with that effort. Second item, our downtown master plan. We had a presentation today of the Walker Collaborative out of Nashville and their associates. We spent an hour and a half or so talking with those folks, we have two other firms to make presentations on Wednesday afternoon of this week, September the 11th. The second and third firm are Bravura and City Visions Associates. You are scheduled to meet at 4 o'clock this Wednesday to review those firms, and if you were of a mind, you could make a decision at the conclusion of that meeting to award the contract, or you might delay that until the next City Commission meeting, depending on your comfort level and conclusions after hearing from the two other firms. Third item, Main Street Fire Station. We're continuing with the technical design work of our interior systems and pumps and so forth. Final exterior design is being reviewed, and construction cost estimates are being updated as our plans progress. We've demolished the site next door. Final cleanup is pending with a goal to complete by September 16th. So that'll be next week, weather permitting and all things working well. We anticipate our design drawings to be 90% complete by early December. Fourth item is our Main Street resurfacing topic in our community. We had a good public meeting last Thursday. DOT number 7 held that with the facilitator to receive public input. We have not received any report or communication yet following that meeting, but I would anticipate that in the near future we would receive some communication. As they have said, they will share the results of all their research with the elected city and county officials, and as their contractors are scheduled to begin milling work on September 16th on Main and Maple, one would think that we might be getting that report in the very near future. Now, the work that may possibly be done, it may be likely, I would say, possibly done at night when they restripe the current configuration that was done at night, and so probably they'll try to minimize the impact upon the community and again do that. We don't know exactly when that might occur, but the time to do that is running. I would mention that we have a staff of few here that are very busy on a lot of projects and activities. One of those mentioned previously was the wayfinding implementation plan. Seemingly, in terms of trying to prioritize and complete projects, we sort of have to do them mostly one at a time through our Department of Transportation. So we're hopeful that once we get the Main Street process finalized, we can then move towards the staged implementation of the wayfinding project. This week or early next, our staff is going to begin work to prepare for the encroachment permit filing process that is required. We probably will file the entire report so that the DOT will have a global understanding, but they will want us to have incremental filings as the road alignments line up and consistent with our discussions in the City Commission. That will probably take about the form of maybe 4 or 5 filings of signage in particular road alignments. So we're hopeful to begin that process in the next few weeks. I mentioned our Public Works Department as very active and a lot of ongoing work. We're going to change out the fall banners in downtown area beginning this week. I think we may have started today to do that, or certainly this week. We've had great success with the hard work of the Public Works Department in our Lexington Park, the water park there. We have some additional work that will need to be done whenever that facility is closed due to cold weather. We've got some grading and additional concrete work to do there with regard to the water direction and overflow from the pad, so that'll be coming up. We're also, prior to the state making their milling and paving, We have some concrete work to do at the corner of Maple and Main in anticipation of the paving that will be done there for the signalization of that light and also to frankly improve the corner there for pedestrians just a bit and to maybe give a little bit more of a turn room on the right as you leave Main into Maple. So that's also underway. We have also other Main Street improvements. You've noticed our streetscape in front of City Hall and going up towards the Community Art, Regional Art Building. We have some final work that needs to be complete, but that is pending really the demolition of the steps to the Davis Building, which did not turn out exactly per spec, and so we're going to have to take a portion of that back down and remediate or mitigate that work, and then build the safety railing after we receive such from the manufacturer and install. So that's going to be hopefully something we can complete in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but it's dependent upon Bluegrass Contracting being back on site. They do multiple jobs, and we've got to get them back. There's additional punch work that we'll have to do down Main Street for that sidewalk improvements. And we have light poles that arrived last week, and we've got to install those after we did locate some missing parts and necessary parts to install those on their basis prior to the road paving. So it's a pretty active and interwoven sort of activity that we're dealing with there. We've talked in prior meetings about the fact that we dedicated the 2nd Street Bridge, now going back months ago, but have yet to complete the concrete work leading up to that pedestrian access, and we're thinking of just simply assigning that to a contractor to complete the work given our limited staff and just to get that completed. We have, as a commission and perhaps as a community, talked about making improvements to our Whisker Park decorative water fountain and upgrading that. Earl Coffey and I met with Monica Sumner of Branstetter Carroll last Friday in the afternoon to discuss options that she identified. She summarized our discussion last Friday by an email that I received this afternoon, and I'll go into a little bit of detail regarding this because this is of high interest to our commission and to our community. The email stated, Ron Earl, the purpose of this email is to recap our discussion on Friday, September 6th, which providing a solution to the corner fountain at Whisker Park. The city informed Branstetter Carroll that solution number 4 is outlined in a letter from Branstetter Carroll to the city dated August 26 is the preferred path. This involves removing the small upper bowl but maintaining the outer ring. In place of the upper bowl, a new concrete structure will be poured which would be much deeper and wider than the existing to allow for more water volume. A larger pump and spray nozzle can then be utilized. With this system, there will be a pit needed for water treatment, much like the one installed with the water curtain. It was discussed that Branstetter Carroll would be prepared to discuss this solution with sketches depicting what the final fountain design could look like, along with the potential cost summary during the September 23rd meeting, our next meeting. Leading up to that meeting, Charles Snyder, PE, will be in contact with Earl Coffey to iron out details of engineering and installation. There was discussion regarding the potential of having the existing streetscape contractor perform the concrete work that will be required, and the city could install the plumbing and electronic system for the pump. That scenario would keep costs down, as the current bidding environment is quite volatile and is likely on such a small project for bids to be high. And that's the process we used when we were doing some of the work in Whisker, originally off of 3rd Street. Additionally, Mr. Snyder will review the performance of the water curtain and suggest any solutions deemed reasonable to aid in water flow and the development of those air gaps which permitted the water or restricted water flow. And she goes on to say that once a solution for the corner fountain is arrived at, each party can discuss participation towards a solution. And she's speaking of financial participation. So she's submitting that with her best wishes to the City Commission as a status report, and we anticipate having a more detailed report at your next meeting. A couple other items. I had mentioned before that the city is engaging John Carmen of Carmen and Associates to, again, look at our cemetery master plan, to update that in terms of recommendations for the design of the cemetery, including our acquisition of land at the entry to Bellevue, to look at regulations and to make general future master plan recommendations. As a continuing work effort, I have on here Danville-Boyle County Parks and Recreation. No development to report on that topic at this time. And I mentioned City of Danville compensation study. This study is well underway, utilizing HANA resources of Lexington, Kentucky. All positions will be evaluated with compensation ranges in a competitive market. Recommendation to be made to me by HANA resources that should be completed in early October of this year. And another real interesting discussion that Earl and I had Friday morning, I guess, of this past week was that we met a new Kentucky Department of Transportation District Number 7 representative to discuss needs and priority funding of, quote, maintenance projects for Danville. The primary opportunity represented to Earl and I was grant funding for infrastructure maintenance projects along with other priority needs. When that was described to us, it was agreed that the Main Street was the best fit for eligibility of this discretionary maintenance funding. And so Earl and his staff will make the application this week for grant funds to help offset costs for the traffic signal pole replacement at the intersections of 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, along with other electrical improvements such as street lighting. We discussed additional project needs and requests that fit the funding opportunity. Was for a right-of-way planning for 2 future roads discussed for Danville, which is new alignment on the east side of town and a rail crossing on the west. These are much larger projects, the first of which was included in the governor's planning budget a couple of years ago, in which this discussion might continue to help that early design work move forward. So it's been busy at City Hall as usual, and that's a synopsis of some of the major items.
Any questions for Ron?
Ron, I want to thank you for that extensive report. I don't know if anybody was counting, but we're one shy of a dozen on projects that are ongoing and happening. So there's a lot going on in this city, and I think it was great that you were able to bring us up to speed along with the folks attending or listening by TV. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask Earl a real quick question? The splash park, is there a close date on that, or is it just as long as you can stand the water, you can go in there?
Yeah, that's our approach now, since it's so late in the year, to leave it on until it gets to a temperature at night that could do damage.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
As I promised earlier, we will get into the section called Hear the Public about any subject that has not been on tonight's agenda. So do I have any takers? Yes, ma'am. Come right up here. Right over, yes, ma'am. And if you don't mind, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Edwards. I'm here with my husband, Joshua Edwards. We own a home pretty close to here on Terrace Court, which is kind of it's a hard spot to find. So I actually painted a picture in case, I don't know who I'm speaking to. everyone.
Anyone and everyone.
But it's over here by the post office, right behind Melton's Deli, off of the Wilderness Road. It's kind of a weird spot. Many of the houses on Terrace Court, they have only one spot for parking or none at all, which is the case of our house. And we love living there. It's awesome. We bought this house in November. Mr. Dexter here actually helped us close on our home. Thank you. But our only issue really has been that this East Wilderness Road, which kind of comes in from Lexington, all times of day and night, there are like crazy trucks just plowing through there. Construction trucks, dump trucks, asphalt trucks, you name it. And I mean, this is a residential area, so as you can kind of see in my painting here, this is all houses, like all the way up here, probably for a mile north. This is a totally residential area. So it's really not safe. For example, my neighbor Roy here, he's lived in that house for 20 years. He's had 7 vehicles. All of them have been hit, some totaled. Our truck has been hit multiple times. You know, my neighbor, he just has like he has a mirror that he can just slap on because he's expecting to lose it. We have Lou across the street. She's a really nice, very elderly lady who likes to come over and visit with us, and it's really not safe because there's so many trucks coming through. A lot of times when we exit our vehicle, we've learned to be very careful. So of course we check the mirror, slowly open the door, but the vehicles, mostly trucks, but regular vehicles as well, are just speeding through so quick. We've been almost hit many times, hit one time in that scenario. In our vehicle, you know, my husband's working on it. He's crazy, but he is often underneath that vehicle with all those trucks going by. It's really not safe. I know we've tried to call different agencies to, you know, do something about it, not much luck, so we put out cones to kind of keep us safe when he's working on the vehicle or when we're, you know, getting in and out. We were told this morning by code enforcement, can't have that. So those are down, but they did inform us about this meeting, so here we are. I did ask many of our neighbors to come. They were all very excited that we were coming and actually doing something about it, but they weren't able to make it this meeting, unfortunately. But, you know, we don't really know how to enact change on this, but we're hoping that we can just be heard on this, and, you know, maybe y'all, the city, and the people can get together and do something. And that's all for me.
Do you all have a little time after the meeting? Maybe we can circle up with staff and maybe chief of police and kind of get our heads together?
That would be excellent.
Y'all may need to leave, I don't know. We
No.
don't have much left on our agenda.
Yeah, I don't know, Josh, your experience is a little more intense than mine, if you want to say anything. Well,
Well, sure. There's no gate between here and there. Although I have to say, she's a better representative.
She really is, but has anybody ever gotten out of their vehicle and been hit by an oncoming traffic at all?
Come close, never done it, though.
No?
Yeah,
Has
I have.
anybody been pushed over by semis hauling it down by you? No?
I did used to live on Terrace Court, though, so I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I was a federal agent. I'm retired now. I'm 31 years old. I was a federal agent for over 11 years. I retired because I got in a shooting and I sustained a brain injury. All right? So in those 11 years, I loved doing traffic work. I loved being able to pull over people on the side of the interstate, roads, wherever, and arrest them right there. And that was my MO. That's how I worked. And when I did that, it was fine. I had lights on, people slowed down and moved over. Here, not so much. Even with the cones, I have construction lights that flash, they still haul it. I get pushed over by semis. My vehicle's been hit by other vehicles. I've gotten hit getting out of my own vehicle. All right, I called the city laughed at me and they said, well, you knew that you had street parking when you bought that house, right? That's what the city of Danville told me. So it's my fault. Call the county says, well, it's a state issue. Call the state, they say, well, it's an enforcement issue. Call the Danville police, they said that they'll take care of it, but basically told me to go pound sand. Just like the state troopers did, just like the DOT did. So what's going down through that street, I know it was a bypass at one time, but now that the construction's done and they have that roundabout for semis, that's what they're supposed to be using. So down that street, you get a bunch of hazardous materials, corrosives, explosives, hot asphalt, you name it. It goes down through there and they haul it. Some days you can sit out there and hear them just screech on their brakes trying to make that stop sign or trying to make that light before it turns. You can look down there and see all the bent street signs from where they hit it. They run over trash cans. There's no accountability for them. So, you know, I don't think things are going to change, but I would like to be able to preserve my own life how I see fit without the city telling me to take down what's preserving my life. Those cones that I put up were to preserve my life. All right, I've been in shootings. I've been in a whole bunch of nasty stuff. And since living in this Danville for the past year, I haven't come closer to losing my life than that. Right? I've been in shootings that I had more life expectancy than being out on that road.
We, if you, like I said, if you could hang around after the meeting, maybe we can get our heads together and just talk a little bit.
All right. All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Seeing not, we'll move right into commissioner comments. Anybody?
Well, I guess I'll own up to this T-shirt. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
As
Stand
per
up.
usual, Commissioner Terry and I have a standing bet on the Danville-Boyle County game, and you may have heard something about Boyle County winning this last one, so the rest in black and gold, but it was, yeah, Boyle County's really good this year.
Yeah.
At least the shirt
Danville's
fits,
really young, so
shirt fits you this time.
it does fit me this time.
I
I do appreciate that.
got you a bigger shirt this time, yes.
So,
You look good in black.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I want to thank Commissioner Sears for once again putting on the bike race prior to the, well, actually, the Saturday of the festival.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that. And while I'm talking about the barbecue festival, I must say that I thought it was extremely well managed and run. I saw no traffic snafus. It just flowed very well. The VIP party Friday night was excellent. Pitmasters are just thrilled to be here, and so kudos to the barbecue people for pulling that off very nicely.
well, I want to speak about a topic. There was an editorial in the Danville paper, August the 30th, 2019, and it was entitled about City of Danville voters who lived in fiscal court districts. And if you didn't see that editorial, I'd like to encourage you to go and read the editorial. Very, very eye-opening. But for my fellow commissioners, I have put together a little spreadsheet for you, and it has each one of the 6 districts, the number of registered voters in the district, who the magistrate is for that district, and then the number of citizens who live in the city in each one of those districts. And I plan to keep this in my book and when we discuss future topics, because I was just amazingly surprised at the number of registered voters in the city who live in really 4 out of the 6 magistrate districts. So use it to any way you see fit, but I was just really an eye-opening letter to the editor for me.
Friday, I went to Elizabethtown to a Home Rule Cities meeting, and a couple of things that I picked up that I'd like to share with staff and others. Owensboro has an entertainment district, and they have something called Friday After 6. It's particularly CVB friendly, and it's a defined area, and in that defined area, Owensboro has certain cups that allows you to move within that defined area. You got to have an armband to be part in that. And there are certain areas within that entertainment district that they carve out. For example, church grounds, etc. So I thought that was kind of interesting that I wanted to bring to your attention. The other thing is about open records, because now that Chief, you'll appreciate this, now that we're wearing body cameras, open records requests become quite onerous. So the suggestion was made to, by executive order, to have the police clerk, not the city clerk, do this. That way the city clerk is not legally liable. So that's a technicality that I don't know any much about, but maybe that's something that will be beneficial.
You mean the police clerk would
She would be responsible
fill
for,
the open record request?
right, for that particular type of open records request, yes.
So what Commissioner Atkins was referring to had to do with Parks and Rec, and in some regards, Commissioner Terry and I were at Governor's Local Issues Conference and attended the same interlocal agreements thing, which I thought was interesting, because part of the panel was the mayor of Georgetown and the judge executive for Scott County, and they were talking about their relationship and collaborating together for what's best for the community really hit home with me. They had a lot of good comments that I wanted to share, and Denise might want to jump in on this, but just looking at what each government could do best and let that government do it instead of fighting over it. And it was really a good thing. And of course, legal was there because it's interlocal agreements, but I think what I really took out of it was that working together spirit. And it all started with, and it's been talked about here before, merger of governments. And they figured out that was too sticky, so maybe we should just cooperate and not merge governments, but let's cooperate. You might want to jump in on that. And anything you picked out of there?
I found it interesting also that the mayor of Georgetown and the judge executive of Scott County were both there. They were on the panel and talked about how they work together. The other person on that panel, and I cannot recall his name, is a mayor in a county with 19 cities. So there are 19 mayors working together within one county. They have many interlocal agreements. They meet periodically. And again, it's the spirit of working together for the overall health and benefit of the citizens. If they can get 19 mayors to work together, surely we can get 2 governments to work together.
Well, I went to Bardstown and Elizabethtown Friday on behalf of the commission. Looked at economic development and how it works in those 2 communities. My takeaway was very exciting to see that land for industrial development was purchased and owned by the city and/or the county, and that how they worked jointly together to control economic development in their communities. Even though the city and county owned the land, they still had a, quote, economic development board that sort of did all the work and sort of kept all the confidentiality of projects until they were ready to be presented for purchase. And it was really an interesting concept, and I plan to go with the subcommittee Monday to Clark County, Winchester, to see how they do things. So hopefully we'll bring back some more information about how they do their work.
I would also like to say that our counterparts from the county were at this same conference, and we were, I believe everyone that was in attendance from here were all in the same session for interlocal agreements. We all heard the same presentation, same questions. No, we did not sit together, but we were there.
Anything else?
That was good.
Seeing not, I'll move right on to item 8, payment of the bills, which you have in front of you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill list dated September the 9th, 2019 for $1,014,527.54.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Discussion? Seeing none, chair call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 9 is the downtown utility pole upgrades timeline. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This is difficult, a little bit difficult for me to explain. We'll start with what we have. On the corner up there at 4th and Main, you have 2 wooden poles that were put in as temporary several years back. The state has acknowledged as they go through and do the repaving, they would like to replace those. The state would most likely replace those with the galvanized, traditional silver galvanized steel poles. What we have suggested to the state is that most likely we would ask that they not do that and give us the opportunity to replace those with a decorative pole if in fact the lane alignment as it sits now remains the way it is. If they do the lane reduction and go through the scenario where they alter the locations of the driving lanes, they will have to relocate the traffic heads that are hung from the mast arms that are up there now. If you go to the second sheet, the attachment 2, the proposed temporary scenario that we would have is for them to install 2 temporary wooden poles on the, unfortunately, wooden poles on the east side of 4th Street, as I showed in light blue and denoted. Those would look exactly like the 2 wooden poles on the west side. We would put those in as temporary. The alternative to that would be the state invest in the galvanized poles, and we don't really see if you all choose, if you all agree that we need to go back with the decorative pole that is there, that we have been incorporated into our streetscape master plan, if you all agree that those signal poles need to be decorative, then we would ask the state to install the wooden poles and save the investment of the galvanized poles and not invest in those structures. So then what that would enable the city to do is go through an appropriate permit process and pole design and the reason we can't preemptively do that necessarily is because the pole design will matter with where the pole heads are located. The pole head location controls the structural design of the poles themselves, which has to be verified for the cabinet as part of the encroachment process. So the effort we would put forth is to remove all the poles in the intersection, cleaning it up so that all the traffic signal poles, not the overhead electric poles, but to remove them down to, or reduce them down to the 2 poles identified on the attachment 3 that I've labeled final layout, which is a yellow pole on the north west side of the intersection over on the Arts Center side, and also on the southeast corner as shown with light blue. So we have to go through, if you all would like to have a decorative pole, then it's going to be necessary, given the timeframes we're talking about, to go through a 2-step process where we ask the cabinet to put in the wooden poles on the east side and then give us the time to design the proper poles and submit those for the installation after they're approved. Does that make any sense?
It does.
It's kind of difficult to explain.
It does. You need a motion? I don't believe you do.
Probably so. I don't know. Stephen, wouldn't you like, yeah. I felt like so.
Yeah, I agree.
Do I hear a motion?
What do we?
Let's clarify exactly what
Yeah,
I think the
that's what I was
staff is
gonna say,
seeking.
yeah.
Staff would be seeking endorsement of the idea that a decorative pole be installed at a future date, and that and staff be allowed to proceed with wooden poles until that process is finalized.
What Stephen said.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion is second. I have a question. Will we get numerical credit for the galvanized poles that we won't be using?
That's one of the things we will suggest in our encroachment permit. Yes, we would hope, since they're not deployed now and we're not asking them to invest in those temporarily, we hope they participate up to that level.
And do we have a timeline?
Once the design is complete, the manufacturer's probably like a 3-month window, 3 to 4. And so we're going to start that process as soon as the state confirms what the dimensions of the street are. Could be as long as, honestly, could be as long as 5 months.
Okay. Months, not years.
That's the target. Yes, ma'am.
Any further questions?
Yeah, just on another note, and this is actually to you folks as much as to city engineer. Similar to the problems that this young couple had, we lost some of those poles due to trucks. And we used to be able to hang our banners, which are now in front of City Hall and seems to work. Is this something that we would consider bringing the banners back over Main Street when we look at decorative poles?
I don't think that is going to be allowed on the decorative poles, and also it was a safety concern last time as well, and became onerous for the city. So for a myriad of reasons, I don't think that solution will be employed in the future.
Earl, what do you think the cost difference between the decorative and just the galvanized? Is there any way to know that at this point, or?
Not yet, to be honest. The length of the mast arm means so much, and so that 10 feet matters a lot. So if they have to go out over the full width versus what they are now, it does matter in terms of cost for the foundations and et cetera.
So is there a way, if we approve this, if they turn out to be $1 billion, that we can back up and do
Yes,
something
we're not
else?
going to, correct.
Okay.
We've tried to demonstrate a number there of about $50,000. If you, rule of thumb for decorative poles for all intersections that we have on Main Street, it's about $150,000 just for the pole assemblies per intersection. That doesn't include your traffic heads that the state would mount on there.
Okay, thank you.
Pole assemblies and installation, you're looking at about $150,000 an intersection, rule of thumb.
Anything else?
Well, let me ask another question. We go forward with this vote, and that allows you to research. And back to Commissioner Caudell's comment, we would be voting on what we're going to pay for, yes or no. Is that right?
We can handle that in really whatever direction you all would like. We are suggesting just taking the step of acknowledging that you all would like decorative poles. And certainly when we figured out that final solution, we can bring that back to you for final approval. And you could transition to galvanized poles at that time if that's just something that's cost prohibitive. And you all can determine that.
So let me clarify your position tonight. You are not authorizing the expenditure of funds for decorative poles. You're saying you would like to proceed in a manner so it can be explored, and that future cost will be presented to you for approval at a later date.
That's it.
And then what I did hear Earl say is that we may turn that down and go back to galvanized poles if that's...
Certainly.
Yep.
Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Do we have need for executive session?
Yes, sir, we do, for personnel matters.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
Thought you were going to wave him off.
Well, no, I promised these nice folks some time. Could perhaps, while we're in executive session, perhaps the chief could work with them and try to figure out something?
Well, I would submit that I think a solution is not going to be crafted on the spot tonight. I think we could get their contact information, we could discuss with staff what might be the better approach and contact them following that, but I doubt we'll solve the problem tonight.
I can solve the problem. It's gonna cost me about $400 and I can do it. If you do it, speak on it. DOT approved.
I will let, the gentleman to your right, in the dark blue, is somebody to talk to. I didn't say the royal blue, I said the dark blue. I started to say the one that has no hair, but that's both of you also. We have a motion to move into executive session. Do I hear?
I'm afraid to. You talk about me. I move that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 618101F.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We're in executive session. Everyone have a good evening.
I move that we return to regular session.
We have a motion to return to regular session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in regular session. Madam Clerk?
Staff would ask
She's not the clerk.
promote Aaron Dunham to the position of billing clerk in the finance department with the usual probationary measures.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Sorry, Director of Human Resources, thank you. Continue on.
Would ask that you retire Samantha Miller to the full-time position of finance clerk with the usual probationary measures.
So, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Have a good evening.